darkness here has a weight to it. It is not merely the absence of light. It is a physical presence, a heavy velvet blanket that presses against the reinforced double-paned glass of my porthole window. My internal clock wakes me before the alarm. It is 5 in the morning, station time. Outside, the world is locked in the permanent twilight of the polar winter, where the sun remains a rumor beneath the horizon for months on end. I lie still for a moment, listening. The station hums. It is a constant, low-frequency vibration that you feel in your teeth more than you hear with your ears. It is the sound of survival. The massive diesel generators churning in the powerhouse, the ventilation systems cycling scrubbed, heated air through miles of insulated ducts, the faint rattle of pipes expanding and contracting within the walls. This is the heartbeat of the ice shelf. As long as I hear that hum, I know we are safe. I slide my legs out from under the duvet. The air in my quarters is cool, kept at a precise 65 degrees Fahrenheit. I place my feet on the linoleum floor. It is smooth and neutral. I stand and stretch, feeling the vertebrae in my spine click into alignment one by one. The routine begins. It is the same routine every morning, practiced until it has become a form of meditation. I turn to the bed, in a place where chaos waits just outside the airlock. Order inside is paramount. I pull the bottom sheet taut, tucking the corners with sharp, practiced angles. I smooth the duvet until not a single wrinkle remains. I place the single pillow perfectly centered at the head. A made bed is the first victory of the day. I move to the small wash basin in the corner of the room. The faucet handles are cold chrome. I turn the right one, waiting 3 seconds for the water to warm. We conserve water here, so the flow is an aerated mist rather than a heavy stream. I splash my face. The soap is unscented, a simple white bar that lathers thick and creamy. I scrub methodically forehead, cheeks, jaw. I rinse. The towel is rough cotton, exfoliating and drying in one pass. I brush my teeth, watching my reflection in the mirror. My eyes are clear. I am ready. Getting dressed is a process of construction. I open my narrow locker. The metal hinges give a soft squeak. Inside, my gear hangs in organized tiers. I start with the base layer. These are not simple clothes. They are engineering marvels designed to regulate thermodynamics. I pull on the long-sleeved top, made of heavyweight merino wool. It is soft against the skin, devoid of scratchiness, and fits snug to trap a layer of warm air against my torso. Next come the bottoms, the same dark gray wool. I pull them up, smoothing the fabric over my thighs, ensuring the elastic waistband sits flat without twisting. Socks are critical. One wrinkle can mean a blister, and a blister here can mean infection. I choose a pair of thick, looped wool socks. I roll them down to the toe, insert my foot, and unroll them slowly up my calf. I run my hands over my ankles, verifying the fit. Perfect. I step into my station trousers. They are heavy canvas, reinforced at the knees and seat, colored a utilitarian navy blue. The zipper slides up with a satisfying brass rasp. I fasten the button. I thread a nylon webbing belt through the loops and cinch it tight. The buckle clicks, a solid plastic snap. I slide my feet into my indoor shoes. These are sturdy leather slip-ons with aggressive tread, just in case I need to move quickly, but comfortable enough for a 12-hour shift. I leave my room, the door latching with a heavy thud behind me. The corridor is long and cylindrical, lit by fluorescent tubes that hum in harmony with the ventilation. The floor is covered in industrial rubber matting to dampen the sound of footsteps. I walk down the hallway, the only soul moving at this hour. The silence of the hallway is different from the silence of the room. It is the silence of a library or a cathedral. I reach the galley. It is a large, open space with rows of long tables. At this hour, it is empty. The stainless steel surfaces gleam under the low-power night lights. I walk to the beverage station. This is my favorite moment of the morning. I take a ceramic mug from the warming rack. It is heavy, thick-walled, and warm to the touch. I place it under the spout of the commercial coffee machine. I do not use the automatic setting. I prefer the manual pour. I open the hopper and check the beans. They are dark, oily, and rich. I press the button to grind. The grinder roars for 6 seconds, a burst of aggressive noise that smells immediately of roasted earth and cocoa. I tamp the grounds down, applying exactly 30 pounds of pressure. I lock the portafilter into the group head with a firm twist to the right. I flip the switch. The pump engages with a rhythmic vibration. Dark, caramel-colored liquid begins to stream into my mug. I watch the crema form on top, a golden foam that signifies a perfect extraction. I lift the mug. The steam rises, curling against my face. I take the first sip. It is hot, bitter, and grounding. It tastes like wakefulness. I carry my coffee to a table near the window. I sit. I look out. There is nothing to see but the reflection of the galley lights in the glass. And beyond that, the absolute void. But I know what is out there. The ice sheet stretches for hundreds of miles, a white desert frozen in time. The wind is blowing. I can see the anemometer on the digital display on the wall. It reads 20 knots, but inside it is still. I drink my coffee slowly, respecting the ritual. I check the time on my wrist. 5:30. Time to move. I rinse my mug in the sink, drying it and placing it back on the rack for the next person. I leave the galley, and head toward the mudroom. This is the transition zone, the airlock between the life support of the station and the hostility of the continent. The mudroom smells of rubber, ozone, and cold dust. Rows of red parkas hang like dormant sentinels. I find my cubby. It is labeled with my name on a piece of masking tape. Now begins the second layering. The armor. I take off my indoor shoes and set them aside. I reach for my boots. They are massive, insulated white rubber boots, affectionately known as bunny boots. They are rated for temperatures that would freeze gasoline. I slide my feet in. The insulation hugs my ankles. I lace them up. The laces are thick yellow nylon. I pull them tight, weaving them through the eyelets, creating a tension that locks my heel in place. I tie a double knot. I stand and stomp twice to settle my feet. The thud is dull and heavy. Next, the salopettes, insulated bib overalls. I step into the legs, pulling the heavy synthetic fabric up over my canvas trousers. I pull the suspenders over my shoulders and clip them into place. Clicky, clicky. I adjust the sliders until the weight hangs evenly on my frame. I put on a neck gaiter, pulling the fleece tube down around my collar. Then the balaclava. I pull it over my head, leaving my face exposed for now, but ready to be pulled up over my nose and mouth in an instant. Finally, the parka. It is the iconic Antarctic red, filled with high loft down. It weighs nearly 5 pounds on its own. I slide my arms into the sleeves. The loft creates a sensation of being hugged by a cloud. I zip it up. The main zipper is large-toothed and heavy-duty. It travels up my torso with a coarse, consistent tearing sound. I snap the storm flap closed over the zipper. Snap, 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 snap. I reach for my gloves. I use a two-part system. First, thin liner gloves made of silk and synthetic blends that allow me to manipulate keys and switches. Then the outer gauntlets, leather palms with long cuffs that reach halfway up my forearm. I clip a radio to my chest pocket. I turn the volume knob. A burst of static, then silence. Comms check, I say quietly. Tech 1, departing for Sector 4. A voice crackles back, warm and bored. Copy, Tech 1. Sector 4. Wind is 22 knots. Temp is -35. Watch your step. Copy. I grab my tool bag. It is a canvas duffel, heavy with wrenches, multimeters, and diagnostic tablets. I sling it over my shoulder. I approach the heavy exterior door. It is like the hatch of a submarine, thick steel with a rotating handle. I grab the cold metal wheel with my gloved hand. I rotate it counterclockwise. The latches disengage with a heavy metallic clunk. I push. The door swings outward. The cold hits me instantly. It is not just a temperature, it is a physical force. It seeks out any gap in my armor. But I am sealed tight. The air is incredibly dry and sharp. It smells of absolutely nothing, a purity that burns the nostrils slightly. I step out onto the metal grating of the platform. I turn and haul the heavy door shut, spinning the exterior wheel until it locks. I am outside. The darkness is absolute, save for the pools of orange light cast by the sodium vapor lamps mounted on the station walls. The snow under my boots is not soft. At this temperature, it is as hard as concrete and as dry as sand. It crunches with a distinct, high-pitched squeak with every step. Crunchy, crunchy, crunchy. I walk toward the vehicle maintenance bay, a separate structure 300 yards away. The wind grabs at my hood, but the fur ruff disrupts the airflow, creating a pocket of still air in front of my face. I keep my head down, watching my boots place themselves one after the other. I follow the flag line. Bamboo poles with red flags are planted every 20 feet. In a whiteout, these are the only things that keep you from walking off into the void. Today, the visibility is clear, but I follow them anyway out of habit. The world is monochrome. Black sky, white ground, orange light. My breath plumes out in front of me, freezing instantly into ice crystals that drift away like diamond dust. I enjoy this walk. It is the only time I am truly alone. The isolation is vast, but my world is small, just the interior of my hood and the next flag. I reach the maintenance bay. It is a large, corrugated metal building, raised on stilts to prevent snowdrifts from burying it. I climb the metal stairs. My boots clang against the frozen steel steps. I reach the personnel door. I take off my heavy outer gauntlet, holding it under my armpit, leaving only the liner glove on my right hand. I reach into my pocket and retrieve my keys. The metal is freezing. I select the silver key with the square head. I slide it into the lock. The mechanism is stiff with cold. I apply gentle, steady pressure. I feel the tumblers align. Clicky. I turn the key. The bolt retracts. I open the door and step quickly inside, pulling it shut behind me immediately to minimize heat loss. I am in the vestibule. I flip a switch. A single incandescent bulb flickers on above me. I stomp my feet on the grate to knock off the snow. It falls in dry clumps. I hang my outer gauntlets on a hook. I unzip my parka. The sound is loud in the small space. I hang the heavy coat. I step out of my bibs. I open the inner door and step into the main workshop. It is pitch black in here. The air is cooler than the main station, kept at 50 degrees to keep the heavy machinery from shock. But it feels warm after the walk. The smell is wonderful, a mix of diesel, hydraulic fluid, cold steel, and old grease. It is the smell of work. I walk by memory to the breaker panel on the far wall. My footsteps echo in the cavernous space. I open the gray metal box. I flip the main lighting array breaker. Thwack. High above, the high bay lights begin to wake up. They start as a dim purple glow, buzzing loudly. Slowly, over the next minute, they shift from purple to pink, and finally to a brilliant, clinical white. The shadows retreat into the corners. The workshop is revealed. It is a cathedral of mechanics. In the center sits a massive red snowcat, its engine cowling open. Along the walls are workbenches organized with obsessive precision, wrenches hanging in size order, from smallest to largest, screwdrivers arranged by tip type, spools of wire on dowels. I walk to the environmental control unit. I press the day mode button. The ventilation fans spin up. A low, rushing sound fills the room, masking the buzz of the lights. I walk to my personal workbench. It is a slab of butcher block wood, scarred and stained from years of use. I set my tool bag down. I unzip it. I take out my diagnostic tablet and place it on the charging dock. The screen lights up, displaying the station logo and a progress bar. I take out my multimeter. I uncoil the leads, straightening the red and black wires. I place my safety glasses on the bench. I check the shop logbook lying open on the desk. The previous shift left a note. Generator 3 showing voltage fluctuation. Injectors cleaned. Needs calibration. I nod to myself. Calibration. That is good work. Precise work. I walk over to the coffee pot in the corner of the shop. It's an old drip machine, stained brown. I pour water from a jug into the reservoir. I listen to the gurgle as it fills. I scoop grounds into the filter. I turn it on. The familiar gurgle and hiss of brewing coffee joins the symphony of the room. I lean back against the bench, looking out over the shop floor. The snowcat waits. The tools wait. The lights hum. Everything is in its place. Everything has a purpose. I pick up a rag and wipe a microscopic speck of dust from the surface of my workbench. The anticipation settles in my chest, a warm and steady feeling. The commute is done. The prep is finished. The world outside is a frozen chaos, but in here, in this circle of light and tools, everything makes sense. I pick up a wrench. The steel is cool and heavy in my hand. I give it a test spin in my fingers. It is time to work. The transition from the living quarters to the science sector is a ritual defined by heavy doors and the changing density of the air. I finish my coffee, rinsing the ceramic mug in the stainless steel sink until the water runs clear. I place it upside down on the drying rack, perfectly aligned with the others. I step out of the galley and into the corridor. The floor here is covered in a thick, industrial rubber matting designed to absorb the heavy tread of boots and dampen the sound of footsteps. My socks slide silently over the textured surface. The station hums. It is a constant, low-frequency vibration that lives in the walls and the floorboards. The sound of the massive generators keeping us alive against the vacuum of the polar shelf. I reach the airlock that separates the habitation module from the working labs. This is the mud room. It is a space of transition, smelling faintly of rubber, wool, and ozone. Rows of open lockers line the walls, each assigned to a station member. Mine is number 14. The process of gearing up is methodical. It has to be. There is no room for a twisted sock or a misaligned seam when you are working in the freezer. First comes the mid-layer. I pull on a heavy fleece sweater, the zipper gliding up its track with a soft, uniform rasp. I check the collar, ensuring it lies flat against my neck. Next are the insulated bib trousers. I step into them one leg at a time, pulling the suspenders up over my shoulders. The clips snap into place with a dull, plastic click. I adjust the tension on the straps until the weight of the trousers sits evenly on my frame, neither pulling down nor restricting my movement. I sit on the wooden bench to address my footwear. The boots are massive, white thermal monstrosities we call bunny boots. They are thick, rubberized, and insulated with layers of felt and wool. I slide my feet in. The fit is snug but yielding. I lace them up, starting from the toe and working my way to the ankle. I pull the laces tight, feeling the pressure distribute evenly across the top of my foot. I tie the knot, double looping it to ensure it will not slip. Then tuck the ends of the laces into the top of the boot to keep them clear of machinery. I stand up. The weight is familiar. I feel anchored to the floor. I grab my glove liners, thin, silver-threaded fabric that allows for dexterity, and slip them on. Over these go the heavy work gloves, textured with a rubber grip on the palms. I flex my fingers, testing the resistance. Open, close. The movement is stiff, but manageable. I take my ID badge from the hook and clip it to my chest pocket. I am ready. I push the lever on the heavy steel door leading to the science corridor. The latch disengages with a heavy metallic clunk. The door swings open on well-oiled hinges, revealing the long, brightly lit hallway that leads to the ice core laboratory. The walk is 100 paces. I count them subconsciously. The lights overhead are long fluorescent tubes, casting a clean, shadowless white light. The walls are paneled in beige, punctuated by fire extinguishers and safety diagrams. I arrive at the lab. The sign on the door reads Ice Core Processing. Authorized personnel only. I swipe my badge. The light on the reader turns green. I enter the anteroom. This is the warm lab, where the computers and data servers live. My colleague Sarah is already there, sitting at a bank of monitors. She looks up and nods, a small, efficient gesture of acknowledgement. We do not need to speak. We know the rhythm of the morning. I move to the inner door. This is the barrier to the freezer. I press the large red button on the wall. A warning light spins, and the pneumatic system hisses as the seal breaks. I step through, and the door seals behind me with a solid thud. The temperature here is negative 20 degrees Celsius. The air is incredibly dry and sharp. It smells of nothing, an absence of scent that is crisp and startling. The cold presses against my insulated gear, seeking a way in, but I am sealed tight. The room is vast, filled with rows of aluminum racks. On these racks lie hundreds of silver cylinders. These are the ice cores. They are archives of the atmosphere, drilled from miles beneath the surface, holding air bubbles that were trapped 20,000 years ago. My breath plumes out in front of me, a momentary cloud that vanishes into the ventilation system. I walk to the processing table. It is a long, stainless steel surface, spotless and shining under the harsh laboratory lights. In the center of the table is the saw, a precision band saw with a diamond-tipped blade, designed to cut ice without melting it. I check the logbook lying on the side counter. Today, we are processing core section 4029, depth 2,000 meters. I walk to the rack labeled section 4. I locate the tube. It is a meter long, made of reinforced cardboard with a metal cap. I grip the tube with both hands. It is heavy, dense, with the weight of compressed history. I lift it from the rack, turning my body with the object to avoid twisting my spine, and carry it to the table. I set the tube down. The sound is a muffled thump against the rubber mat on the table surface. I unlatch the end cap. It unscrews with a dry, scratching sound. I tilt the tube, and the ice core slides out. It is beautiful. A perfect cylinder of ice, 10 centimeters in diameter. It is not clear like an ice cube from a freezer. It is complex. It is clouded with thousands of tiny bubbles, layers of dust, and bands of opacity. It looks like white marble. I begin the visual inspection. I switch on the light table beneath the ice. The surface glows from below, illuminating the inner structure of the core. The light reveals the stratigraphy, the layers of winter snow and summer melt, compressed into distinct bands. I pick up a pair of digital calipers. The metal is cold, even through my gloves. I measure the diameter at the top, the middle, and the bottom. 9.8 centimeters. 9.8 centimeters. 9.9 centimeters. I pick up a stylus and tap the measurements into the ruggedized tablet mounted on an articulate arm above the table. The screen registers the input instantly. Now the cut. I move the core to the saw carriage. The carriage is a sled that slides on lubricated rails, guiding the ice into the blade. I align the core with the laser guide, a thin red line that projects across the top of the ice. I need to slice a distinct slab for isotope analysis. The slab must be exactly 3 centimeters thick. I adjust the fence, turning the micrometer wheel. The metal wheel turns smoothly, heavy with grease. I watch the digital readout. 2.8, 2.9, 3.0. I lock the fence in place. I reach for the power switch on the saw. It is a large, industrial toggle. I flip it up. The motor engages. It does not roar, it hums. It is a high-speed, precision whine that speaks of perfect balance. The blade is a blur of motion. I place my hands on the push block at the end of the ice core. I apply gentle, consistent pressure. The ice meets the blade. There is no resistance, only a change in the pitch of the saw. The sound becomes a steady, textured hiss. A fine spray of ice dust, we call it swarf, erupts from the cut, sucked immediately away by the vacuum exhaust vent positioned right next to the blade. I watch the cut. My focus narrows to the point where the diamond teeth meet the frozen water. I am not thinking about the cold, or the station, or the wind outside. I am thinking only of the feed rate. If I push too fast, the cut will be rough. If I push too slowly, the friction might sublimate the ice. I find the sweet spot. The carriage glides forward. The sensation is buttery smooth. The blade slices through 10,000 years of history in seconds. The cut is complete. I pull the carriage back. The saw blade spins down, the whine dropping in pitch until it settles into silence. I lift the cut slab of ice. It is a rectangular prism, translucent and perfect. I hold it up to the light. I can see a layer of volcanic ash, a faint gray line running diagonally through the sample. That dust fell from the sky before the pyramids were built. I place the slab into a pre-labeled plastic bag. I seal the bag, running my thumb and forefinger across the zipper to ensure it is airtight. I place the bag in a cooler destined for the mass spectrometer lab. I turn back to the remaining core. I pick up a soft bristled brush. I sweep the table, clearing away the stray ice dust. The particles scatter like dry sand, falling into the collection trough. I wipe the stainless steel surface with a lint-free cloth. The workspace is reset. The cycle is ready to begin again. This is the flow state. Time in the freezer behaves differently. It is preserved, frozen like the samples we handle. are no windows here to show the sun circling the horizon. There is only the rhythm of the work. Retrieve, measure, log, aligned, cut, store, clean. I repeat the process. Core section 4030. I slide the ice out. I measure the diameter. The numbers flow from the calipers to the tablet. The saw spins up. The hiss of the cut. The silence of the finish. My movements become economical. I stop looking for the tools. My hand simply goes to where they are. The brush is always on the right. The calipers are always on the left. The logbook is always open to the current page. I am a machine within a machine, a component of the laboratory's metabolism. After an hour, Sarah enters the freezer. She is wearing her full gear. She carries a tray of empty sample vials. She sets them down on the far end of the table. She moves to the station next to mine, where the electrical conductivity sensor is set up. She picks up the main section of the core I just cut. She places it on her track. We work in parallel. I hear the soft whir of her sensor moving along the length of the ice. I hear the rhythmic tap of her stylus on her screen. We do not speak. The sound of our work is a conversation. The hum of my saw answers the whir of her scanner. The scratch of my brush answers the rustle of her sample bags. It is a choreography of competence. We know exactly where the other person is without looking. When I finish a cut, I slide the remaining core to the transfer zone. Within seconds, her gloved hand appears, retrieves it, and loads it into her instrument. There is a profound satisfaction in this silence. It is the intimacy of shared purpose. We are the custodians of the ice. I reach for the next tube. My breathing is slow and deep. The cold air feels nourishing now, keeping my mind sharp and awake. I encounter a section of ice that is brittle. It has a visible fracture running through the center. I pause. I lean in closer, adjusting the magnifying lamp. The light floods the fracture, making it glitter like a diamond flaw. I cannot cut this with the standard feed rate. It might shatter. I adjust my stance. I widen my feet slightly. I place my hands on the push block with renewed intention. I switch on the saw. I enter the cut at half speed. I listen to the blade. I feel the vibration through the handles of the carriage. The saw sings a slightly different note, a lower, more laboring tone as it navigates the fractured structure. I modulate the pressure, easing off when the vibration increases, pressing forward when it smooths out. I guide the blade through the fault line. The ice holds together. The cut completes. I exhale. A perfect slice. I check the time on the wall clock. 2 hours have passed. It feels like 20 minutes. I pick up the shop vacuum hose. It is time for the mid-morning maintenance. The saw produces a significant amount of ice dust, and if it builds up, it can refreeze and jam the mechanics. I switch on the vacuum. It has a deep, throaty roar that drowns out the ventilation hum. I run the nozzle around the base of the saw blade. I watch the white powder vanish into the black nozzle. I trace the lines of the carriage rails, sucking up every stray particle. I turn off the vacuum. I take a bottle of food-grade lubricant. I apply a single drop to each of the 4 guide bearings on the carriage. I slide the carriage back and forth. Click slide, click slide. The movement is frictionless. I take a moment to organize the sample bags in the cooler. They are stacking up neatly, a library of frozen moments. Each one is labeled with a barcode and a depth reading. 2,001 meters, 2,002 meters, 2,003 meters. I am traveling back in time, meter by meter. Sarah taps on the stainless steel table twice with her knuckles. It is the signal. I look up. She points to the door. Break time. We have processed 12 meters of ice. It is a good morning's yield. I begin the shutdown sequence for the break. I lower the safety guard over the saw blade. I turn off the laser guide. I close the logbook, marking our place with a magnetic strip. We walk to the exit door together. I hit the release button. The pneumatic seal hisses, and the door pops open. Stepping into the anteroom feels like walking into a sauna. Though it is only 20 degrees Celsius, room temperature. The heat hits my face, flushing my cheeks. I can feel the blood returning to the surface of my skin. We strip off the outer layers in the mudroom. I unzip my parka. The sound is loud in the quiet room. I pull off the heavy gloves and place them on the drying rack. The liners come off next, revealing my hands pink and warm. I sit on the bench to unlace the bunny boots. The relief of removing them is a tactile pleasure all its own. I wiggle my toes in my wool socks. I slip my feet into my indoor shoes, light canvas slip-ons. I stand up and stretch. My back cracks once, a satisfying release of tension. Sarah is hanging up her bib trousers. She looks at me and smiles. "Good flow today," she says softly. "The best," I reply. "The ice was cooperative." "That fracture at 2005, she asks. "Tricky," I admit. "But it held." "Nice cut," she says. That is all the praise I need. We walk out of the mud room and back into the main corridor of the station. The smell of the station returns coffee, floor wax, and the faint scent of baking bread from the galley. I walk toward the mess hall. My body feels used and capable. My mind is clear, scrubbed clean by the focus and the cold. The morning is gone, consumed by the rhythm, but the day is only half over. I look at my hands. They are steady. They are ready for the afternoon. But first, lunch, and perhaps a fresh pair of socks. The heavy steel door to the atmospheric monitoring lab clicks, shut behind me. The sound a solid, dull thud that vibrates briefly through the soles of my boots. It is 1200 hours. The morning shift is complete. The data has been logged, the sensors calibrated, and the intake fans cleared of the overnight rime ice. Now the station pivots. There is a palpable shift in the air pressure of the building, not from the weather systems swirling outside, but from the collective rhythm of the 30 souls living inside this insulated shell. It is time for the lull. I pause in the corridor to wipe a smudge of synthetic grease from my thumb with a rag I keep in my back pocket. The fabric is rough, familiar. I fold the rag into a neat square and tuck it away. My movements are unhurried. Here, rushing is a liability. Rushing leads to mistakes, and mistakes in the Antarctic are expensive, if not dangerous. I appreciate the slowness. I appreciate the deliberate transition from the sharp, cold focus of the technical work to the softer, warmer focus of bodily maintenance. Walking down the central spine of the station, the flooring changes beneath my feet. It shifts from the industrial rubber matting of the science wing to the smoother, polished linoleum of the habitation sector. My boots make a rhythmic squeak, a low-friction sound that echoes faintly against the prefabricated walls. The hallway is lit by long, recessed strips of warm LED light, mimicking the hue of late afternoon sun, a necessary trick for the brain during the months of darkness. I pass the communications room. Through the glass, I see the comms officer leaning back in her chair, a headset around her neck. She raises a hand in a slow wave. I nod in return. It is a silent language we all speak here, a language of conserved energy. Approaching the galley, the sensory landscape shifts dramatically. The sterile scent of ozone and chilled metal that clings to the lab is replaced by something dense and inviting. Yeast, roasting root vegetables, the heavy, savory humidity of a stock pot that has been simmering for hours. The air here is warmer, richer. It carries moisture that settles pleasantly on my dry skin. I step into the mudroom just outside the mess hall. This is the airlock for our comfort. I sit on the wooden bench, the grain worn smooth by decades of heavy trousers. I reach down and unlace my work boots. The laces are thick, braided nylon. I pull them loose, feeling the tension release across the bridge of my foot. One by one, I pry the heavy boots off and place them on the metal rack, lining the heels up perfectly with the edge of the shelf. I slide my feet into a pair of fleece-lined slippers. The change in tactile feedback is instant. The floor feels softer, the connection to the ground less aggressive. hang my heavy canvas work coat on its assigned hook, listening to the zipper sing its metallic song as I pull it down. Entering the galley proper, the hum of conversation is low, a soft murmur that blends with the ventilation system. The space is open, dominated by long tables and a wall of triple-paned glass that looks out over the ice shelf. I move to the serving line. The stainless steel counter gleams under the lights. The chef, a man who treats his kitchen with the same rigorous precision as I treat my atmospheric sensors, nods at me. There is a large, deep tray of roasted potatoes, their skins crisp and golden, dusted with rosemary. Next to it, a slow-roasted beef brisket, falling apart in its own juices. I take a ceramic plate from the stack. It is warm. They keep the plates heated. It is a small detail, but one that matters immensely. I use the tongs to select my meal. The metal tongs click softly. I appreciate the weight of the food, the visual promise of calories. In this climate, the body burns energy just to exist. Eating is not an indulgence. It is a refueling procedure. I ladle a serving of thick vegetable stew into a bowl. The ladle is heavy, the stainless steel handle cool against my palm. The stew is a deep, earthy brown, thick with carrots, onions, and barley. Steam rises from the bowl in a lazy, curling ribbon, disappearing into the ventilation overhead. I add a slice of dark rye bread, crusty and dense, cutting it from the loaf with a serrated knife that saws through the crust with a satisfying crunch. I choose a seat near the window, but not directly against it. The cold radiates off the glass, even through the triple glazing. A subtle draft that reminds you of the monster waiting outside. I sit. I arrange my cutlery. Fork on the left, knife on the right, the napkin folded. For the next 20 minutes, I do not speak. I focus entirely on the mechanics of the meal. I lift the spoon. The stew is hot. I blow on it gently, watching the surface ripple. The taste is profound, salty, savory. The sweetness of the cooked carrots cutting through the richness of the broth. I chew slowly. The texture of the barley offers a pleasant resistance. I can feel the warmth traveling down my throat, settling in my stomach. A glowing core of heat that begins to radiate outward to my extremities. I tear a piece of the rye bread. The crust cracks. The inside is soft, airy. I dip it into the broth, watching the liquid soak into the pores of the dough, changing its color. I eat it. It is grounding. The act of eating here feels more significant than it does back in the real world. Every ingredient has been shipped thousands of miles to be here. Every calorie has been calculated. To waste it would be a sin against logistics. I look out the window. The world outside is a study in grayscale. The sky is a flat, heavy slate color, blending seamlessly into the horizon. The ground is white, textured by the wind into waves of sastrugi, hard ridges of ice that look like a frozen ocean. The wind is picking up. I can see it in the way. The loose snow snakes across the surface, low to the ground, like white smoke. It swirls around the stanchions of the station, piling up in the lee of the support beams. Inside, the contrast is absolute. Here, there is the clink of silverware on china, the soft hiss of the espresso machine, the smell of baking. Outside, there is only the wind and the cold that can freeze flesh in minutes. I watch a large tracked vehicle, a piston bully, crawling slowly across the ice in the middle distance. Its orange paint is the only spot of color in the entire panorama. It moves with a lumbering determination, its tracks churning up clouds of ice crystals. I watch it until it disappears behind a ridge, its engine noise inaudible through the heavy insulation of the walls. I finish my meal. I wipe the bowl clean with the last piece of bread. I sit for a moment, hands wrapped around a mug of black tea. The ceramic is hot, almost too hot to hold, but I keep my hands there, letting the heat seep into my palms, softening the calluses. I watch the steam rise from the dark liquid, swirling in microscopic turbulence. I take a sip. The tannins are sharp and cleansing. My body enters a state of rest. The digestion process slows my heart rate. The adrenaline of the mornings work outside and the cold fades completely, replaced by a heavy, comfortable lethargy. This is the lull. The station feels quieter now. Most of the crew has finished eating and dispersed to their bunks for a short rest or to the lounge to read. I stand up, my chair scraping softly on the floor. I carry my tray to the wash station. The process of clearing up is just as ritualized as the serving. Scrape the scraps into the compost bin. Place the cutlery in the soaking tub. A majestic crash of metal on metal that rings with finality. Stack the plate. Stack the bowl. I leave the galley and head back toward the maintenance wing. But I do not return to the high-intensity work of the morning. The afternoon is reserved for the secondary tasks. The organizational work, the maintenance that requires patience rather than force. I walk into the supply closet adjacent to the workshop. It is a small room, lined floor to ceiling with metal shelving units. It smells of cardboard, rubber, and dry dust. My task for the next 2 hours is inventory and organization of the hydraulic seal kits. It is a low-stakes task, but deeply satisfying. I pull a large plastic bin from the shelf and set it on the waist-high workbench. The bin is filled with hundreds of O-rings, gaskets, and washers, all jumbled together from when the last supply crate was hastily unpacked during a storm. I turn on the overhead task light. It casts a focused, bright circle on the workbench, leaving the rest of the room in shadow. It creates a tunnel of concentration. I take 3 empty organizer boxes made of clear, high-impact plastic. They are divided into small, square compartments. I open the lid of the first box. The hinges are stiff and plastic, snapping open with a pop. I begin the sort. My hand reaches into the chaotic jumble of the main bin. I pull out a handful of seals. I lay them out on the rubber mat of the bench. I pick up a black rubber O-ring. It is the size of a coin. I inspect it. The rubber is smooth, unblemished. I check the size against a template printed on the workbench surface. 12 millimeters. I place it into the corresponding compartment in the organizer box. It drops in with a whisper of sound. I pick up another. This one is larger, red silicone. High temperature rating. I check the chart. 20 millimeters. I place it in its designated spot. Pick up, inspect, measure, sort, place. The rhythm takes over. It is a tactile meditation. The rubber is cool and dry against my fingertips. The visual satisfaction of seeing the chaotic pile slowly diminish and the ordered rows of the organizer box fill up is immense. There is a rightness to it, a sense of imposing order on entropy. I find a damaged seal, a black ring with a small nick in the outer edge. I run my thumbnail over the imperfection. It catches. This seal is compromised. If installed, it would fail. It would leak hydraulic fluid. It would cause a machine to stop. I toss it into the waste bin. A small victory. A future problem prevented by a moment of attention in a quiet room. I work through the pile. My breathing is slow and even. The station hums around me, a constant companion. Occasionally, I hear the muffled thud of a door closing somewhere else in the wing, or the distant whine of a drill. But here, in the circle of light, there is only the parts and the boxes. After an hour, the first organizer box is full. It looks like a work of art. Rows of black, red, and blue rings, perfectly aligned. I close the lid. The latches snap shut with a crisp, secure double click. I take a label maker from the shelf. I type in the contents. Hydraulic SEALS class, A sorted. The machine whirs and prints the label on a strip of white tape. I peel the backing off. The crinkle of the paper is sharp in the quiet room, and smooth the label onto the lid of the box, pressing out the air bubbles with my thumb. I slide the finished box onto its shelf. It fits perfectly. I align the edge of the box with the edge of the shelf. I return to the bin. There is still more to do. I have not finished the gaskets yet. These are flat, paper-like seals. I handle them gently. They feel like parchment. I stack them by size, creating neat towers of gray material. I count them as I stack. 10, 20, 30. I write the numbers on a clipboard hanging next to the shelf. The pen scratches across the paper, a dry, friction-filled sound. This work is essential. When a blizzard hits, when the wind is howling at 90 miles an hour and visibility is 0, and a heater fails, we cannot spend an hour digging through a jumbled box looking for the right gasket. We need to know exactly where it is. We need to trust the shelf. My calm now buys us safety later. I pause to stretch. I rotate my shoulders, hearing the soft pop of a joint. I look at my watch. It is 1400 hours. The afternoon is drifting by in a haze of productive quiet. I decide to inspect the vacuum cleaner filters. While I am in the supply mindset, I move to the utility locker. I open the maintenance panel of the industrial vacuum unit we use for the corridors. The latches are heavy steel toggles. I flip them up. Clack, clack. I pull the cover off. The filter inside is gray with dust. It is a pleated cylinder. I slide it off the mounting post. I hold it up to the light. It is clogged. I take a fresh filter from a box on the shelf. The new paper is stark white, the pleats crisp and sharp. It smells of clean manufacturing. I slide the new filter onto the mount. It fits snugly. I verify the rubber seal at the base is seated correctly. I replace the cover. I press down on the toggles until they lock. The machine is ready. It is a small task, invisible to everyone else, but I know it is done. I know the airflow will be optimal. I pick up a microfiber cloth and a spray bottle of mild cleaner. I spray the surface of the workbench where I have been sorting. A fine mist settles on the surface. I wipe it down in long, sweeping motions, gathering up the dust and the residue of the rubber seals. The surface shines, dark and clean. I check the inventory list one last time. I verify the counts. I verify the handwriting is legible. I hang the clipboard back on its hook. It settles against the wall with a tap. I turn off the task light. The circle of brightness vanishes, returning the room to the uniform, dim, ambient light of the hallway. I step out of the supply closet and close the door. The handle turns smoothly. I verify it is latched. The lull is beginning to fade. The energy in the station is shifting again. I can hear voices down the hall, sharper now, more awake. The afternoon shift is gaining momentum. But for me, the heavy lifting is done. The chaos has been sorted. The parts are in their rows. The belly is full. I walk toward the gear room to prepare for the final check of the day. My slippers are silent on the floor. I feel capable. I feel ordered. I am ready for the next phase. The final hour of the shift is often the most quiet. time when the rhythm of the work moves from the heavy percussion of repair to the soft, brushing cadence of completion. The primary task is done. The hydraulic pump on the red piston bully has been seated, sealed, and secured. Now comes the reassembly, the process of closing the patient back up and ensuring that the machine is ready to face the ice once more. I stand before the open engine bay, the metal warm from the ambient heat of the garage. My gloves are stained with the dark, slick residue of hydraulic fluid, a sign of honest labor. I pick up the heavy engine cover, a large panel of insulated steel painted that distinct, high visibility red. It settles into place with a heavy, dull thud, the sound of solid engineering. I align the latches, 4 of them, one at each corner. I move to the front left latch first. I hook the metal clasp over the lip. I press the lever down. There is resistance, a firm pushback from the rubber gasket sealing the compartment, followed by a satisfying snap as the latch locks home. I repeat the motion on the right. Hook, press, snap. The sound is sharp and definite in the large, echoing space of the workshop. I walk around to the rear of the vehicle. The treads, thick rubber belts studded with metal cleats, sit motionless on the concrete floor. I run a gloved hand along the upper edge of the engine cover, checking the seam. It is flush. Perfect. I secure the final 2 latches. The internal organs of the machine are now protected against the 60-mile-per-hour winds waiting outside these walls. There is one final test. I climb into the cab of the snowcat. The seat suspension sighs as I settle my weight into it. The cabin smells of rubber, old coffee, and cold air. I insert the key into the ignition. I turn it 1 position to the right. The dashboard lights up, a constellation of amber and green indicators. I wait for the glow plug light to extinguish. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1 second. The light goes out. I turn the key fully. The heavy diesel engine catches immediately. It does not roar, it purrs, a deep, resonant baritone that vibrates gently through the floorboards and into the soles of my boots. I watch the gauges. Oil pressure rises steadily to the center of the dial. Hydraulic pressure stabilizes. The temperature needle begins its slow, lazy climb. I listen for a full minute, head tilted slightly, attuned to any irregularity. There is none, just the steady, rhythmic combustion of a healthy machine. I turn the key back. The engine shudders once and falls silent. The silence that follows is heavy and sweet. The job is done. Now begins the ritual of the close. This is not merely cleaning. It is a resetting of the stage, a courtesy to my future self who will walk through these doors tomorrow morning. I climb down from the cab and walk to the workbench. It is scattered with the detritus of the day. A socket set, a breaker bar, 3 screwdrivers, and a handful of oily rags. I pick up the lint-free blue cloth and pour a small amount of citrus-based degreaser onto it. The smell is sharp and clean, cutting through the heavy scent of oil. I pick up the torque wrench first. It is a precision instrument, heavy and cool in my hand. I wipe the handle, removing a smudge of grease. I wipe the head, polishing the chrome until it reflects the overhead fluorescent lights. I dial the setting back to 0 to relieve the tension on the internal spring. This is crucial for maintaining calibration. I walk to the large red tool chest against the wall. I open the second drawer. It glides out on ball bearings, smooth and silent. I place the wrench into its custom foam cutout. It fits with a soft whisper of friction. I return to the bench. I gather the sockets. One by one, I wipe them down. The 19mm, the 17mm, the 14mm. I place them onto their metal rail, pressing them down until they click into place. The click is metallic and crisp. I return the rail to the top drawer. I organize the screwdrivers by size and type. Flathead, Phillips, Torx. I hang them on the shadow board above the bench. Each tool has a painted outline behind it, a visual promise that everything has a place. When the last screwdriver is hung, the board looks whole again. It is a satisfying mosaic of order. I wipe down the surface of the workbench. I use long, sweeping motions, starting from the back and pulling the dirt and grime toward the front edge. I sweep the debris into my hand and deposit it into the waste bin. The stainless steel surface of the bench gleams, a blank slate ready for the next project. I walk to the computer terminal in the corner of the shop. The screensaver is drifting with geometric shapes. I wiggle the mouse to wake it up. I open the maintenance log. I type slowly and deliberately. Unit 04. Hydraulic pump seal replaced. Fluid topped off. System tested. Operational. I hit save. A small progress bar fills up and disappears. I close the window. I log off. The screen goes dark. The final step of the cleanup is the floor. I take the wide push broom from the corner. The bristles are stiff and red. I start at the far end of the garage, near the massive bay doors. I push the broom forward, the bristles rasping against the sealed concrete. I walk a straight line, gathering the fine dust and small bits of dried mud that have fallen from the vehicle tracks. I turn, overlap my path by 3 inches, and walk back. The repetition is hypnotic. Push, step, push, step. The pile of dust grows as I move across the floor. It is a meditative practice, erasing the footprints of the day. When the floor is clear, I put the broom away. The The garage is now immaculate. The vehicles are parked in straight lines. The tools are hidden away. The air is still. I walk to the light switch panel by the exit. There is a bank of 4 switches. I flip them down, one by one. The back row of lights clunks off. Then the middle row. Then the front. The garage plunges into shadow, illuminated only by the faint green exit signs and the small amber LEDs on the charging stations. I open the heavy steel door to the corridor, step through, and let it close behind me. The magnetic lock engages with a solid clack. I am now in the transition zone, the long, insulated corridor that connects the technical wing to the living quarters. The temperature here is warmer, the air less industrial. The floor changes from concrete to heavy-duty rubber tiling. I walk down the hallway, the sound of my boots muted and soft. I reach the locker room, the mudroom where we shed the outer layers that protect us from the Antarctic hostility. I sit on the wooden bench. It is worn smooth by years of use. I reach down and unlace my heavy work boots. The laces are thick and stiff. I loosen them rung by rung. I pull my foot out, and the release of pressure is immediate and euphoric. I wiggle my toes in my thick wool socks. I place the boots on the drying rack, the warm air from the vents already beginning to circulate around them. I stand up and unzip my coveralls. The sound of the zipper is a long, rising pitch. I peel the heavy fabric off my shoulders, stepping out of the legs. Underneath, I am wearing soft thermal layers. I hang the coveralls on my designated hook. I take off my work gloves and place them on the shelf above. I am lighter now, shedding the weight of the profession. I slip on my indoor shoes, a pair of fleece-lined moccasins with soft rubber soles. The sensation of walking changes completely. I am no longer stomping. I am gliding. I leave the locker room and enter the main station hub. The lighting here is warmer, more yellow than the harsh white of the garage. The air smells different. It smells of dinner rolls and humidifiers. I can hear the faint hum of conversation from the mess hall, a low murmur of voices that signifies community. I walk past the galley. I grab a glass from the stack and fill it with water from the dispenser. The water is cold and clear. I drink it all in one long draught, feeling it hydrate me after hours in the dry, recycled air of the workshop. I place the glass in the wash rack. I make my way up the short flight of stairs to the dormitory wing. The station is quiet. Most of the day shift crew are already winding down, reading in their bunks or watching movies in the lounge. The corridor is narrow, lined with doors on either side. Each door has a nameplate. I find mine. I open the door to my room. It is small, no larger than a walk-in closet back in the real world, but it is a sanctuary. The walls are covered in soft fabric panels to dampen sound. A small desk sits in the corner, a single bunk bed against the wall. The blackout curtain over the small porthole window is drawn tight, though it makes little difference during the winter months when the sun never rises. I close the door. The latch clicks, sealing out the rest of the station. The silence here is profound. It is not the empty silence of the garage, but a cozy, inhabited silence. I can hear the very faint, constant rush of the ventilation system, a white noise that I have come to associate with safety and warmth. I sit on the edge of the bed. The mattress is firm. The duvet is thick and fluffy. I strip off my thermal top and bottom, folding them neatly and placing them in the drawer under the bed. I put on a loose cotton t-shirt and soft pajama pants. The cotton feels cool and light against my skin, a stark contrast to the heavy wool and synthetic fibers I have worn for the last 12 hours. I sit at the small desk for a moment. I open my journal. I pick up a pen. I write the date. I write 3 sentences about the day. Fixed the heating element in the greenhouse. Rebuilt the pump on the snowcat. The wind is calm tonight. I close the journal. There is a deep satisfaction in the brevity. The day was productive. Problems were presented, and problems were solved. Nothing was left undone. There are no loose ends to keep my mind tethered to the waking world. I turn off the small desk lamp. The room goes pitch black. In this latitude, the darkness is absolute. There is no ambient city glow, no moonlight filtering through clouds, just perfect, velvety darkness. I pull back the heavy duvet and slide into the bunk. The sheets are cool, but they warm quickly against my body. I pull the covers up to my chin. I adjust the pillow, punching it once to get the loft just right. I lie on my back, my hands resting on my stomach. I begin the process of physical decompression. I focus on my toes, curling them tight for a second, and then letting them go completely limp. I feel the tension drain out of my feet, my ankles, my calves. I let my legs grow heavy, sinking into the mattress. I move my attention to my hands. My fingers, which have spent the day gripping wrenches and twisting screwdrivers, are now loose and open. I feel the muscles in my forearms relax, the tightness in my shoulders, the inevitable result of leaning over engine bays, begins to dissolve. I exhale a long, slow breath, and with it, my shoulders drop another inch into the mattress. I relax my jaw. I unfurrow my brow. I let my eyes rest heavily in their sockets. The station is a shell, a warm bubble of life in the middle of a frozen desert. Outside, the temperature is 40 degrees below zero. The wind is blowing across thousands of miles of ice, unseen and untouched. But inside, I am warm. I am safe. The machinery that keeps us alive is humming its steady, reliable tune. I know this because I am the one who keeps it humming. I listen to the sound of my own breathing. In, out, in, out. It slows down, matching the rhythm of the ventilation fans. My mind drifts over the events of the day, but not in a way that requires analysis. They are just images floating by. The spark of the welding torch, the smell of the coffee, the click of the torque wrench, the clean lines of the shadow board, the smooth red paint of the engine cover. They are good images. They are the images of a day well spent. The line between waking and sleeping begins to blur. The heaviness of my body becomes a comforting weight, anchoring me to the bed. The darkness of the room feels like a soft blanket wrapped around my mind. I am aware of the warmth of the duvet. I am aware of the softness of the pillow. I am aware of the peace. The Antarctic night is long, but it is not lonely. It is a time of restoration. The work is done. The tools are clean. The station is secure. I let go. I drift. I sleep.